XIAO ZHAN's unexpected confession. I still blame myself for hurting Songyun. The entertainment world thrives on sparkle, but once in a while, a crack appears in the dazzling facade, and through it spills a flood of raw truth. That's exactly what happened this week when XIAO ZHAN, the ever-composed, ever-poised star, shattered the silence in a way no one could have anticipated. His confession wasn't part of a scripted drama, nor was it a crafted PR move. It was heartbreak in its purest form. With trembling hands and eyes that betrayed the weight of years gone by, XIAO ZHAN uttered words that fans never thought they'd hear. I still blame myself for hurting Songyun. The audience gasped, the cameras froze, and time itself seemed to hesitate. How could this revelation, so heavy, so personal, slip through the lips of the man known for guarding his emotions so fiercely? This wasn't just a celebrity's regret. This was a soul laid bare. And it instantly rewrote the narrative of not only XIAO ZHAN's past with Songyun, but also the present web of love, pain, and loyalty involving Wang Yiba, Su Kai, and the millions of fans who have been following every turn of their intertwined fates. The moment of confession. It all unfolded during what was meant to be a routine sit-down interview. XIAO ZHAN had been asked about his journey, his career, and the lessons he'd learned along the way. At first, his answers were measured and precise, the type of carefully chosen words we've grown accustomed to hearing. But then, the interviewer gently touched on the subject of regret. His demeanor shifted instantly. His jaw tightened. His voice faltered. The mask slipped. I regret, he began, his voice low, almost inaudible. The studio held its breath. I regret hurting someone who didn't deserve it. Someone who was only ever kind to me. The silence that followed was suffocating, broken only when XIAO ZHAN whispered her name. Songyun. The name itself echoed like thunder. And then came the dagger. I still blame myself for hurting her. The history that won't stay buried. For those who have followed the saga, this confession reopens an old wound. Years back, when rumors swirled of a spark between XIAO ZHAN and Songyun, fans were divided. Some celebrated their chemistry, while others fiercely opposed it, citing XIAO ZHAN's closeness with Wang Yiba. The whispers were endless. A supposed dinner date that stretched too late into the night. The subtle way XIAO ZHAN's eyes lingered on Songyun during a press event. The tearful goodbye they shared before she flew overseas for filming. But somewhere in the middle of it all, something fractured. What was once a tender connection became a chasm. Songyun disappeared from his orbit, gravitating instead towards Su Kai. And XIAO ZHAN? He retreated, silent, pretending the past never existed. Until now. Behind closed doors. Sources close to the two stars reveal that XIAO ZHAN and Songyun once shared more than just casual affection. He really cared for her, one insider whispered. But circumstances, pressure, and misunderstandings pulled them apart. He never forgave himself for letting it happen. The misunderstandings were reportedly fueled by the ever-watchful gaze of fans, the press, and yes, by Wang Yiba himself. Some allege that Yiba's quiet disapproval created tension that neither party could withstand. Others claim it was Su Kai's entrance that shifted the dynamics permanently. Yet, in that one confession, XIAO ZHAN made it clear. Regardless of outside forces, he blames himself. Fans react, shock, anger, and tears. The moment the clip hit the internet, chaos erupted. Some fans praised XIAO ZHAN's honesty. This is the closure we needed. He finally admits it. He cared for Songyun. No one is perfect. This shows his humanity. Others, however, felt betrayed. How could he say this when he has Yiba by his side? Doesn't he realize what this implies? This is going to hurt more people than it heals. And then there were those who turned their focus on Songyun herself. Within hours, her name trended worldwide. Fans demanded to know her side, her truth. Would she respond? Or would silence speak louder? Wang Yiba's shadow in the room. While XIAO ZHAN's confession centered on Songyun, everyone's eyes inevitably shifted to Wang Yiba. After all, how could a revelation this raw not affect him? Wang Yiba and XIAO ZHAN's bond has always been enigmatic, fierce, unspoken, and often tested by the glare of the spotlight. They've survived rumors, scandals, even a near-fatal accident together. But this confession touched the very core of loyalty. An anonymous crew member from XIAO's recent project spilled a telling detail. When the news broke, he just sat there staring at his phone. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he whispered, "He never told me he still thought about her." The weight of that silence is deafening. Songyun sighed. As for Songyun, she has yet to officially address XIAO ZHAN's words. But those close to her describe her as being deeply shaken. One friend revealed. She didn't expect him to bring it up. She thought that chapter was closed. But hearing that he still blames himself, it reopened emotions she worked hard to bury. What does this mean for her current relationship with Soo Kai? The actor has reportedly been nothing but supportive, but insiders admit that his patience has limits. Soo Kai respects the past, said one, but he doesn't want to live in its shadow. The scene that broke everyone. Perhaps the most unforgettable moment came minutes after the confession. XIAO ZHAN paused, his voice breaking, as he painted an image that stunned the audience. "I remember the night it all ended," he said. "She was crying, and I couldn't bring myself to hold her. I just walked away. And I've regretted it every day since." Tears glistened in his eyes as he whispered the final blow. "I should have held on." Fans in the studio were reduced to silence. Some cried. Others covered their mouths in shock. The cameras captured XIAO ZHAN's vulnerability in a way the world had never seen before. What happens next? Now the industry watches with bated breath. Will Songyun respond publicly? Will Soo Kai make a statement? Most importantly, how will Wang Yibo process the storm of emotions that his closest partner has unleashed? Theories abound. Some speculate that XIAO ZHAN's confession might signal an attempt at closure. Others wonder if it's the beginning of another complicated chapter, one that could either heal or shatter the fragile bonds among all four stars. But one thing is certain, XIAO ZHAN's words have reopened a story that many thought was over. A story of love, regret, friendship, and betrayal, a story that continues to captivate millions. Final thoughts. Celebrities are often seen as untouchable, their hearts hidden behind polished smiles and perfectly rehearsed answers. But in this one rare, unguarded moment, XIAO ZHAN reminded the world that even the brightest stars carry shadows. His confession was more than just an admission. It was a cry for forgiveness, a longing for peace, and perhaps a chance to rewrite the ending of a chapter that was never fully closed. For Songyun, Soo Kai, and Wang Yibo, the aftershocks of this revelation will be felt for weeks, months, maybe even years. For fans, it's another breathtaking twist in a saga that refuses to end. XIAO ZHAN's confession that froze time. The studio lights flickered softly above, painting XIAO ZHAN in a glow that should have made him appear untouchable, almost ethereal. Yet, in that moment, he was nothing like the flawless idol fans had come to expect. His shoulders slumped, his eyes glassy, his lips trembling with words that seemed to weigh a lifetime. The interviewer hadn't expected it. The question was simple, almost casual. "Do you have any regrets?" A pause. A long inhale. And then the dam broke. "I regret hurting someone who was only ever kind to me." His voice cracked, low and heavy, echoing off the walls of the silent studio. The air thickened. Every person behind the cameras leaned forward unconsciously, caught in the gravity of his unraveling. Seconds stretched like hours. Then came the name, Songyun. The sound of it sent shivers across the room. Assistants froze mid-note. Makeup artists held their breath. Even the cameraman, trained to capture drama without reaction, flinched as if the name itself carried the weight of thunder. The room stilled. There are moments in time where the world seems to halt, where even the rhythm of breathing feels too loud. This was one of them. XIAO ZHAN's hands curled into fists on his lap, his knuckles pale. He didn't look at the interviewer. He didn't look at the camera. Instead, his gaze drifted downward, as if staring at the floor could somehow erase the ghosts of the past he had just unleashed. "I still blame myself," he whispered, his throat tightening with each syllable. "For hurting her, For letting her go. A collective gasp rippled through the crew. One assistant, unable to contain her emotions, blinked back tears. And in that surreal silence, XIAO ZHAN continued, as if confessing not just to the world, but to himself. A flashback in his eyes. It was as though, in speaking her name, the past had come rushing back. His voice softened, tinged with longing and sorrow. She trusted me with her laughter, her time, her heart. And I let her walk away, without fighting for her. That night when she cried, when she needed me, I turned away. That memory, it follows me every day. The cameras captured his every twitch, the quiver of his lips, the wet gleam in his lashes, the way his chest rose and fell with uneven breaths. It was no longer an interview. It was a confession booth. Audience in shock. Those lucky enough to witness the interview live were frozen in disbelief. Fans who had fought for seats in the small audience clutched each other's hands, some gasping aloud, others covering their mouths to muffle sobs. One fan whispered so loudly the microphone picked it up. He still loves her. The ripple effect was immediate. Phones buzzed under studio chairs as fans scrambled to record reactions, to spread the news before the cameras even stopped rolling. Within minutes, Songyun's name began climbing social media trends, paired with XIAO ZHAN's in ways no one had dared dream of in years. The interviewer's struggle. The interviewer herself struggled to maintain composure. Her professional instincts told her to move on, to steer the conversation back to safer waters. But her human instinct, her empathy, kept her locked in the moment. She leaned forward carefully, her voice low. XIAO ZHAN, if you could say one thing to her now, what would it be? For a moment, he closed his eyes, inhaling deeply as though bracing himself for impact. I'd tell her. I should have held on. Those 5 words detonated in the room like fireworks, bright, deafening, unforgettable. The cameras don't lie. Even after the producer gestured for a break, the cameras kept rolling, capturing XIAO ZHAN as he sat there, hands trembling, tears threatening to fall. He was no longer the untouchable star. He was simply a man stripped bare of pride, haunted by what could have been. The scene was so raw that crew members later admitted they had to excuse themselves to cry in private. One cameraman confessed, "I've filmed him 100 times, but I've never seen him like that. That wasn't acting. That was pain." Social media explodes. The moment the clip aired, chaos ignited online. Within 10 minutes, hashtags like #XiaoZhanConfession, #TanSongyun, #IShouldHaveHeldOn trended worldwide. Fans flooded platforms with reactions. I'm crying. This isn't a drama. This is real life. How can Iba hear this and not feel broken? Su Kai, what is he thinking right now? The internet was ablaze, not with speculation, but with raw emotion, as though the entire fandom had been pulled into XIAO ZHAN's heartache. The ripple through the industry. Behind the scenes, the industry scrambled. Publicists debated whether to spin the confession as just nostalgia, while producers worried what this revelation might mean for ongoing projects involving XIAO ZHAN, TanSongyun, Su Kai, and Wang Yiba. But no amount of damage control could undo what had already been said. The genie was out of the bottle. The confession was immortalized, screenshotted, shared, dissected. And every replay made it clearer. XIAO ZHAN hadn't spoken as an actor, but as a man consumed by regret. The moment after, when the cameras finally cut and silence fell, XIAO ZHAN remained seated, his eyes glistening, his breathing uneven. He reached for a glass of water, but never brought it to his lips. Instead, he pressed the rim against his forehead, as though hoping the coolness would calm the storm inside him. A crew member offered tissues. He accepted one, dabbing his eyes with trembling hands. And then, almost to himself, he murmured words the microphones still picked up. Some wounds never heal. The entire room knew then, this wasn't a performance. This was the truth he had carried in silence for years. The echo that won't fade. Even now, hours after the interview aired, fans replay the clip endlessly, each time uncovering new details, the way his hands clenched, the crack in his voice when he said her name, the haunted look when he admitted blame. For many, it wasn't just XIAO ZHAN's confession that cut deep. It was the realization that idols, too, live with regrets that fame cannot erase. And as the world debates, speculates, and mourns alongside him, one thing is certain. That moment in the studio will be remembered not as a soundbite, but as a piece of living history. Closing scene. When XIAO ZHAN finally rose from his chair, the weight of the confession seemed to linger in the air. He offered the faintest of bows, whispered a soft thank you, and walked out of the studio, not as the shining star everyone had come to adore, but as a man forever marked by love lost. The door closed behind him with a soft click, but the echo of his words, "I still blame myself for hurting Tan Songyun," refused to fade. The world may never see him the same way again.